The massive council chamber stretched before Ambassador Jake Morrison like a cathedral of alien power. 12 different species sat in their designated sections, each more strange and ancient than humanity could have imagined just 50 years ago. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert dozens of languages into something resembling understanding. Jake stood at the center of it all, his simple black suit looking plain against the elaborate costumes and natural armor of his judges. Behind him in the gallery sat Captain Lisa Grant, her military uniform crisp and her face carefully neutral despite the anger burning in her eyes. She had commanded 3 successful exploration missions beyond human space, and now she watched as everything they had built was being torn away. The charges against humanity had been read in formal council speech, each word carefully chosen to sound official and final. Excessive territorial expansion, they called it, as if humans were the first species to spread beyond their home system. Violation of sacred non-interference protocols, though no human had ever signed such protocols, or even heard of them until first contact. Most damning of all was the charge of refusing to submit to council authority, which Jake knew was the real reason they were here. Council Speaker Zethkalar rose from his crystal throne, his body catching the chamber's artificial light and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. The Vorthan Collective had led the council for over 3,000 years, and Zethkalar spoke with the confidence of someone who had never been truly challenged. The decision of this council is final and without appeal, Zethkalar said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. Humanity has demonstrated patterns of behavior incompatible with galactic peace. Your species expands too quickly, adapts too readily, and shows dangerous independence from established order. Jake felt his jaw clench but kept his expression diplomatic. In the gallery, Dr. Henry Clark leaned over to whisper something to his colleague Dr. Amy Ross. Henry had spent 5 years studying alien psychology and had warned the human government that this day would come. The aliens feared humanity not because humans were evil, but because they were unpredictable. "We have followed all established trade agreements," Jake said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "Human colonies have maintained peaceful relations with neighboring systems. Our expansion has been within the bounds of international space law." A ripple of what might have been laughter came from the section where the Caltharian delegation sat. These insect-like beings had been among the first to complain about human activity in their region of space. Their ambassador, a creature whose name humans could barely pronounce, clicked his mandibles in what Jake had learned was a sign of dismissal. "Your species has established 47 colonies in 30 years, the Caltharian said through his translator. "Most civilizations take centuries to achieve such expansion. This rate of growth is unsustainable and threatens resource allocation throughout the Outer Rim." Captain Grant shifted in her seat and Jake could feel her frustration. The New Horizon had discovered 6 habitable worlds in the past year alone, worlds that had been ignored by alien civilizations for millennia. Humanity's crime, it seemed, was being too good at finding and settling new homes. Zethkalar's crystalline form pulsed with deeper colors as he prepared to deliver the sentence. "The Council has voted unanimously. Humanity must withdraw all military and civilian personnel to your home system within 1 solar cycle. Any human vessel detected beyond the outer planets of Sol will be destroyed without warning." The words hit the human delegation like a physical blow. Jake had expected restrictions, perhaps limitations on future expansion, but complete quarantine was beyond his worst fears. In the gallery, he could see the shock on every human face. Captain Grant's knuckles were white where she gripped the armrest of her chair. "This is exile," Jake said quietly. "You are cutting us off from the galaxy. Entirely." "You are being contained," Zethkalar replied without emotion. "Your species has proven unable to integrate peacefully with galactic civilization. This quarantine will remain in effect until humanity demonstrates fundamental changes in behavior and philosophy." Dr. Ross stood up in the gallery, her scientific mind rebelling against the decision. "What changes?" she called out, ignoring protocol. "What exactly do you want us to become?" The chamber fell silent except for the humming of translators. Jake could see uncertainty in some of the alien faces, as if they had never actually considered what humanity might need to do to earn acceptance. The truth was becoming clear to everyone present. This was not about changing human behavior, but about eliminating human competition. "The Council has spoken," Zethkalar said finally. "This session is concluded." As the various alien delegations began filing out of the chamber, Jake remained standing at the center of the vast space. Captain Grant made her way down from the gallery, her footsteps echoing in the emptying chamber. When she reached him, she spoke in a voice low enough that only he could hear. "They're afraid of us," she said simply. Jake nodded, watching the last of the alien delegates disappear through ornate doorways. "They have good reason to be." Dr. Clark and Dr. Ross joined them at the center of the chamber, both scientists looking stunned by what they had witnessed. Henry had spent years trying to understand alien psychology, and Amy had dedicated her career to finding peaceful solutions to interspecies conflicts. Today had proven that some problems could not be solved with understanding and goodwill. 47 colonies, Amy said quietly, in 30 years. We've done in 3 decades what took them centuries. And that's just what they know about, Lisa added with a slight smile that did not reach her eyes. Jake looked up at the empty balconies, where moments before the most powerful beings in the galaxy had sat in judgment. The chamber was designed to make anyone standing where he stood feel small and insignificant. Today it had the opposite effect. The aliens had revealed their greatest weakness. They feared human potential enough to risk creating human enemies. "One solar cycle," Jake said, turning to face his companions. "They think they're giving us time to pack our bags and retreat. What are we actually going to do with that time?" Lisa asked. Jake's diplomatic mask finally slipped, revealing the steel underneath. "We're going to give them exactly what they're afraid of." The 4 humans walked out of the council chamber together, leaving behind the ornate symbols of alien power. Above them, the artificial stars of the station's ceiling twinkled like distant suns, each one representing worlds that humanity would no longer be allowed to explore. The aliens thought they had won a great victory by containing the human threat. They had no idea they had just declared war on the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. Outside the chamber, other human personnel were waiting for word of the council's decision. Jake looked at each face, seeing the same mixture of shock, anger, and determination that he felt in his own heart. These people had left Earth to explore the stars and build something greater than themselves. Now they were being told to go home and stay there forever. "Send a message to Earth," Jake told his communications officer. "Tell them the Council has made their position clear. Humanity is on its own now." As the human delegation prepared to leave the Council station for the last time, none of them looked back at the seat of galactic power. They had more important things to think about than alien authority. They had an empire to build. 6 months after the Council's verdict, Earth orbit buzzed with more activity than it had seen since the first Mars colonies. Massive construction platforms stretched across the sky like metal spiderwebs, each one building something the galaxy had never seen before. President Richard Hayes stood at the observation deck of Luna Station, watching supply ships ferry materials between the orbital shipyards with the precision of a military operation. The Great Withdrawal, as historians would later call it, had brought home over 50 million colonists from 47 worlds. Each returning ship carried not just people but also alien technology, detailed surveys of distant systems, and most importantly, hard-earned knowledge about how the galaxy really worked. The aliens thought they were forcing humanity to retreat, but they had actually given humans the greatest strategic advantage possible: time to prepare. Colonel Kate Sullivan moved between the construction sites like a general inspecting her army. The orbital shipyards had tripled in size since the Exodus began, and every day brought new innovations born from necessity and human ingenuity. The returning colonists had brought stories of alien weaknesses that human engineers were eager to exploit. They had learned that most alien species relied on technology that had remained unchanged for centuries. making them predictable and vulnerable to new approaches. In the depths of the Ceres asteroid mining facility, Dr. Sam Rodriguez led a team of scientists working on projects that would have been impossible without the alien technology captured during the withdrawal. His latest breakthrough had come from studying Caltharian power systems, which relied on principles that human science had barely begun to understand. The insect-like aliens had perfected energy storage over millennia, but they had never considered the applications that human creativity could unlock. They build for permanence, Sam explained to his team as they worked on reverse engineering. An alien power core. Everything they make is designed to last forever and never change. That makes them incredibly efficient but completely inflexible. Dr. Amy Ross, who had returned from the council station with a burning desire to prove humanity's worth, worked alongside Sam's team to understand the deeper implications of what they were learning. The aliens were not just technologically rigid, but mentally rigid as well. They had evolved in stable environments where change was rare and adaptation unnecessary. Humanity's greatest perceived weakness, their tendency to constantly adapt and modify everything they touched, was actually their greatest strength. Commander Beth Taylor coordinated the construction of hidden facilities throughout the outer solar system from her command center on Europa. Using the cover of expanded asteroid mining operations, humanity was building a network of secret bases that stretched from Jupiter to the Kuiper Belt. Each facility was designed to be completely invisible to alien surveillance while serving as a staging ground for the projects that would reshape humanity's future. The asteroid belt had become humanity's secret weapon. What looked like routine mining to alien observers was actually the largest military construction project in human history. Entire asteroids were being hollowed out and converted into fortress factories, each one capable of producing ships and weapons far beyond anything humanity had possessed when they first met the aliens. The scattered nature of the asteroid field made it impossible for alien surveillance to monitor every operation, giving humanity the perfect place to prepare their response. Beth's teams had learned valuable lessons from studying alien surveillance methods during the withdrawal. The various council species each used different technologies to monitor space, but all of them shared the same weakness. They looked for patterns they recognized. Human activity that did not match known technological signatures was often dismissed as unimportant background noise. This blindness gave humanity room to work on projects that would have horrified the Council if they had understood what they were seeing. President Hayes addressed a joint session of Congress and the United Earth Council from the new government center on Luna. His words carried to every human settlement in the solar system. The Phoenix Protocol, as the comprehensive response plan had been named, was more than just a military buildup. It was a complete transformation of human civilization, designed to turn exile into advantage. The Council believes they have caged us, Hayes said to the assembled representatives. They have given us something far more valuable than freedom to explore. They have given us a common enemy and a clear purpose. When we emerge from this quarantine, we will not be the same species that was banished from their chambers. The speech was broadcast throughout human space, reaching mining crews in the Kuiper Belt, scientists working in hidden laboratories on Titan, and engineers building humanity's new future in orbital shipyards. Every human in the solar system understood that they were part of something unprecedented, the deliberate evolution of an entire civilization. In response to an external threat, Colonel Sullivan's shipyards had produced the first prototypes of humanity's new space vessels, designs that incorporated alien principles with human innovation. These ships were smaller than the massive vessels favored by most alien species, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and armed with weapon systems that alien defensive doctrines had never encountered. More importantly, they were designed with human tactical thinking, aggressive, unpredictable, and capable of operating independently for extended periods. The new ships reflected everything humanity had learned about galactic civilization during their brief time among the stars. Alien vessels were built for prestige and intimidation, massive constructions designed to impress other species with their builders' power. Human ships were built for war, each one a precision instrument designed to exploit the weaknesses that human observers had cataloged during their enforced withdrawal. Dr. Rodriguez's research teams had made another crucial discovery while analyzing alien communication systems. Most council species relied on subspace networks that required physical relay stations, making their communications predictable and vulnerable to interception. Humanity's own quantum communication experiments had shown promise for instantaneous contact across any distance, giving human forces a coordination advantage that alien commanders could not match. As the first year of quarantine drew to a close, alien monitoring stations detected unusual energy signatures from the Sol system. Council Surveillance Chief Velanemos, a slug-like being from the Gastropod Collective, filed reports describing increased human activity but admitted that the readings made no sense according to established understanding of human capabilities. The energy outputs were too high, the construction patterns too sophisticated, and the coordination too precise for a species that had barely mastered interstellar travel 50 years earlier. The Council dismissed these reports as irrelevant. Statistical noise. Humans were a young species with limited technology, and their quarantine was complete. Whatever they were building in their home system could not possibly threaten civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. This confidence would prove to be the Council's greatest mistake. But for now it served humanity's purposes perfectly. In hidden facilities throughout the solar system, human scientists and engineers worked with desperate intensity to prove their species worthy of the stars. They did not yet know that worthiness would be measured in victory rather than diplomacy, but they were building the tools for both. The Council had given them time to grow strong, and humanity was not wasting a single day of that gift. 2 years into the quarantine, Chief Engineer Ray Kim stood before the most beautiful and deadly creation humanity had ever built. The sleek vessel stretched 300 meters from bow to stern, its hull gleaming with adaptive armor that could shift properties based on the threats it faced. This was humanity's answer to alien supremacy, the first of the new Guardian-class starships, designed not for exploration but for war. Ray ran his hand along the ship's hull, feeling the subtle vibrations of the quantum drive system that Dr. Rodriguez's team had perfected 6 months earlier. The aliens thought they understood human technology because they had seen the crude fusion drives and basic shields of humanity's first interstellar vessels. They had no concept of what human ingenuity could accomplish when given access to alien principles and unlimited motivation. The Guardian represented everything humanity had learned about galactic civilization, where alien ships were massive and imposing. Built to intimidate through size and ornate decoration, human vessels were lean predators designed for speed and lethality. The ship's weapon systems were hidden beneath smooth armor plating, and its quantum communication array was disguised as routine sensor equipment. To alien observers, it would look like an improved version of existing human technology. Not the Revolutionary War machine it actually was. Dr. Claire Evans worked in the secure communications facility beneath Luna's surface, surrounded by equipment that would have seemed impossible just 3 years earlier. Her breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication had given humanity something no other species in the galaxy possessed: instantaneous coordination across unlimited distances. While alien fleets relied on subspace relays that could be intercepted or jammed, human forces could operate as a single coordinated organism. No matter how far apart they were scattered, the implications were staggering. Human commanders could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously, sharing tactical data in real time and adapting their strategies faster than any alien force could respond. Claire's system turned every human ship into part of a vast networked intelligence, multiplying their effectiveness far beyond what their individual capabilities suggested. Captain Mike Barnes led the first test of humanity's new stealth capabilities, piloting a modified scout ship beyond the edge of the solar system for the first time since the quarantine began. His mission was simple in concept but revolutionary in execution: gather intelligence on alien activities without being detected, proving that humanity could operate beyond their cage whenever they chose. The stealth technology that made Mike's Mission Possible combined human innovation with captured alien sensor data in ways that neither species had imagined alone. Human engineers had studied every scanning method used by Council surveillance systems, then designed countermeasures that made their ships invisible to all of them. The result was a vessel that existed in the gaps between alien detection methods. Unseen and unsuspected, Mike's reconnaissance revealed disturbing information about the state of galactic civilization. The Council was not the unified authority it pretended to be, and several member species were engaged in territorial disputes that they had carefully hidden from humanity during first contact. The Vorthan Collective was expanding into systems claimed by the Caltharian Republic, while the aquatic depth-dwellers were fighting a quiet war with the gas-giant inhabitants of the Storm's End, alliance over mining rights in nebula systems. More importantly, Mike's observations confirmed what human analysts had suspected. The alien species had grown complacent during their long dominance. Their patrol patterns were predictable, their responses to unusual events were slow and bureaucratic, and their military forces showed signs of being more ceremonial than functional. They had forgotten how to fight a determined enemy because they had not faced serious opposition in centuries. Intelligence officer Dana White compiled reports from dozens of reconnaissance missions, building a comprehensive picture of alien psychology and military capabilities that would have been impossible to gather through diplomatic channels. Her analysis painted a picture of civilizations that had achieved stability at the cost of adaptability, becoming powerful but brittle in ways that human strategists could exploit. The alien species that comprised the Council had each evolved in relatively stable environments where change was gradual and predictable. Their societies reflected this stability, with rigid hierarchies and traditions that had remained unchanged for millennia. They were skilled at maintaining their established systems, but struggled to adapt when faced with unexpected challenges or new types of threats. Dana's psychological profiles revealed that most alien commanders followed tactical doctrines that had been refined over thousands of years, but never seriously tested against an innovative enemy. They expected their opponents to behave according to established patterns, and they had detailed responses prepared for every scenario their experience suggested was possible. The problem was that human tactical thinking fell outside their established patterns entirely. The breakthrough in understanding came when Mike's team rescued human prisoners from a secret alien research facility hidden in an abandoned system beyond Council space. The freed prisoners brought horrifying news about the true nature of alien interest in humanity. The Council had been conducting experiments on captured humans, trying to understand what made them so different from other galactic species. The rescued scientists, led by Dr. Frank Davis, described months of testing designed to measure human adaptability, creativity, and response to stress. The aliens were particularly fascinated by humanity's ability to find unexpected solutions to complex problems and their tendency to modify everything they encountered rather than accepting it as they found it. The experiments had been conducted with clinical detachment, treating human subjects like laboratory specimens rather than intelligent beings. What terrified the aliens most was not human aggression or technology, but human unpredictability. Every other species in the galaxy had behavioral patterns that could be analyzed and predicted with reasonable accuracy. Humans consistently defied these predictions, finding solutions that alien logic suggested should be impossible and succeeding in situations where they should have failed. Dr. Davis described conversations with alien researchers who spoke of humanity like a virus that could not be contained by normal methods. They feared that human influence would spread to other species, introducing chaos and change into the stable order that had governed galactic civilization for millennia. The quarantine was not just about preventing human expansion, but about preventing human ideas from contaminating the rigid thought patterns that kept alien society functioning. The rescued prisoners also brought technical intelligence that proved invaluable to human military planning. They had observed alien security systems from the inside and could describe weaknesses that external reconnaissance had missed. More importantly, they had witnessed the alien response to human ingenuity firsthand and could confirm that even the most advanced Council species were unprepared for the type of warfare humanity was planning. Ray Kim stood on the bridge of the completed Guardian as final systems. Tests confirmed that humanity's first true warship was ready for deployment. Around the solar system, dozens of similar vessels were nearing completion in hidden shipyards, each one representing months of innovation and determination. The aliens had given humanity time to build an answer to their ultimatum, and that answer was finally ready to be delivered. The quarantine had lasted exactly 2 years, and in that time humanity had transformed from a recently contacted species into something the galaxy had never seen before. A civilization that had been forged specifically to challenge alien supremacy. The Council would soon learn that their greatest fear had been justified, but by the time they understood the true scope of human capabilities, it would be too late to stop what they had started. 3 years after the Council's verdict, Admiral Joe Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship, defiance as humanity prepared to remind the galaxy why they had been feared in the first place. Operation Breakout would begin in exactly 6 hours, and every human vessel in the strike force was ready to prove that the quarantine had been the Council's greatest mistake. The alien monitoring stations that had watched the Sol system for 3 years were about to become the first casualties in humanity's return to galactic prominence. The strike force represented the pinnacle of human military evolution. 67 ships of 3 different classes spread across 7 attack groups. Each vessel incorporated lessons learned from years of studying alien technology and psychology, designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses that human intelligence had cataloged. During the forced exile, the aliens expected humans to remain caged forever, but they were about to discover that some cages only make their occupants stronger. Captain Lisa Grant commanded the assault group tasked with eliminating the primary surveillance station in the Proxima sector. Her ship, the Retribution, carried experimental weapons that alien defensive systems had never encountered and could not counter. Quantum torpedo arrays, hidden beneath the vessel's armor plating, would deliver the first message of humanity's new era. The age of alien supremacy was over. General Susan Brooks coordinated ground forces aboard the massive troop transport Victory, her Marines equipped with powered armor that incorporated the best of human engineering and alien materials science. The plan called for rapid capture of 3 Council installations, taking them intact to gather intelligence and demonstrate humanity's new capabilities. Brooks had trained her soldiers for 2 years specifically for this mission, and they were ready to show the galaxy what human determination could accomplish. The countdown reached 0 at exactly 800 Sol Standard Time, and humanity struck with precision that caught the alien watchers completely unprepared. Lisa's torpedo barrage destroyed the Proxima surveillance station before its crew could even transmit a distress signal, the quantum warheads phasing through alien shields as if they did not exist. Across 6 other systems, identical attacks eliminated the network of monitoring posts that had kept humanity under observation. Admiral Carter watched the tactical display as green lights confirmed successful strikes throughout human space. The aliens had spent 3 years confident in their surveillance network, never imagining that their targets had been watching them in return and planning countermeasures for every defensive system they possessed. The first phase of Operation Breakout was complete, and not a single alien observer had survived to warn the Council of what was coming. The second phase began immediately, as human strike forces moved beyond the boundaries of Sol System for the first time since the quarantine began. Captain Mike Barnes led a squadron of stealth ships toward the nearest Council fleet base, their mission to gather intelligence and test alien response capabilities. What they found confirmed humanity's strategic assumptions. The alien military forces were unprepared for the type of warfare humans had developed during their exile. The Council fleet base at Kepler Station housed over 300 alien vessels from 6 different species, but their defensive posture was designed for ceremonial display rather than actual combat readiness. Ships were arranged in neat formations that prioritized visual impact over tactical advantage, and their patrol patterns had not been updated in decades. Most damning of all, their communication systems relied on the same subspace relays that human forces had learned to intercept and jam. Brooks. Marines stormed the research facility where human prisoners had been held. Their assaults so swift and coordinated that alien security forces never had time to mount effective resistance. The facility's capture yielded treasure troves of intelligence about Council military capabilities and strategic planning, but more importantly, it sent a message that could not be ignored. Humanity would not tolerate the mistreatment of their people, and they now possessed the power to enforce that principle. The alien researchers who had treated humans like laboratory specimens found themselves prisoners in their own facility, guarded by the same soldiers whose people they had tormented for months. Brooks made sure they understood the irony of their situation before ordering them transferred to human interrogation specialists, who would extract every piece of useful information they possessed. Ambassador Jake Morrison broadcast humanities declaration from a mobile command center that jumped between star systems to avoid alien retaliation. His words were transmitted on frequencies that every Council species monitored, ensuring that the message would reach every corner of galactic civilization within hours. The quarantine was officially ended by human choice rather than alien permission, and any attempt to reimpose it would be met with devastating force. The Galactic Council claimed authority over humanity without our consent, Morrison's message began. They imprisoned us in our own system and treated our people as subjects for experimentation. Today we reject their authority and reclaim our rightful place among the stars. Any species that threatens human expansion or mistreats human citizens will face the consequences of their actions. The message included detailed footage of the successful attacks on Council installations, proving that humanity now possessed military capabilities far beyond what alien leaders had believed possible. The quantum torpedoes that had effortlessly penetrated alien shields, the stealth technology that had made human ships invisible to Council sensors, and the coordination that had allowed simultaneous strikes across multiple systems all demonstrated that the exiled species had used their time wisely. Captain Grant's forces engaged the first Council response fleet near the outer edge of human space, and the battle revealed just how unprepared alien commanders were for human tactical methods. The Caltharian admiral, commanding the Council force, deployed his ships in traditional formation and attacked according to established doctrine, expecting his opponents to respond with similar predictability. Instead, Grant's ships scattered in seemingly random directions before converging from unexpected angles with weapons blazing. The quantum torpedoes punched through Caltharian shields while human particle beams carved through armor that had been designed to stop conventional energy weapons. The alien formation collapsed within minutes, and the surviving ships retreated in disorder while broadcasting desperate calls for reinforcements. The victory at the Battle of Volf 359 was broadcast throughout human space and beyond, serving notice to the galaxy that humanity was no longer the weak species that had been banished 3 years earlier. Alien military analysts struggled to understand how human forces had achieved such overwhelming tactical superiority in such a short period, but the answer was simple. They had been underestimated by opponents who confused technological advancement with combat effectiveness. Word of the human resurgence spread through galactic civilization faster than Council authorities could suppress it. Species that had been dominated by the Council for centuries began to wonder whether the ancient order was as invincible as they had been taught to believe. On a dozen worlds, subject peoples looked up at the stars and dared to hope that change might finally be possible. The most shocking development came when 3 minor alien species made contact with human forces to discuss potential alliances. The Mineral Workers Union, a collective of silicon-based beings from the inner galaxy, transmitted an offer of cooperation that included valuable intelligence about Council military deployments. 2 other species followed with similar proposals, suggesting that the galactic order was far more fragile than its rulers had realized. Admiral Carter stood before the holographic display showing human territorial control, watching as green zones expanded beyond the Sol system for the first time in 3 years. The operation was succeeding beyond even optimistic projections, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Council would eventually mount a coordinated response, and humanity needed to be ready for the real war that would follow. The aliens had created their own worst nightmare when they chose to exile humanity rather than find accommodation. They had given their most dangerous rivals time to prepare, motivation to succeed, and justification for any actions they chose to take in response. Operation Breakout had proven that the cage was broken, and now the galaxy would learn what humanity could accomplish when they were truly free to pursue their destiny among the stars. 1 year after Operation Breakout changed the balance of galactic power forever, President Richard Hayes stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of New Terra, the capital world of what was now called the Terran Federation. Representatives from over 300 species filled the vast chamber, including many who had once voted for humanity's exile from galactic civilization. The irony was not lost on anyone present that the species the Council had tried to contain now commanded more territory and wielded more influence than any single member of the former Council had ever possessed. The old Galactic Council had collapsed 6 months after humanity's counterstrike, fragmenting into 3 competing factions that spent more energy fighting each other than opposing human expansion. The Vorthan Collective led the hardline resistance faction, still convinced they could restore the old order through military force. Their recent defeats at the hands of human task forces had proven this strategy was both futile and expensive. But crystalline beings were notoriously slow to adapt their thinking. Admiral Susan Brooks, promoted after her successful ground campaigns during Breakout, commanded the fortress worlds that now protected the expanding borders of human space. These massive installations served dual purposes as defensive strongholds and launching points for further expansion, each one capable of supporting entire fleets while maintaining civilian populations that ensured permanent human presence in contested systems. The fortress at Kepler Prime alone housed over 2 million people and could construct a new starship every 3 days. The construction of these fortress worlds represented humanity's answer to the eternal question of galactic politics, how to maintain control over vast distances without overextending military resources. Human engineers had learned from studying failed alien empires that centralized control was vulnerable to disruption, so they designed a distributed network of self-sufficient strongholds that could operate independently while remaining connected through quantum communication networks. Dr. Sam Rodriguez had emerged as the Federation's chief technology advisor, overseeing research projects that pushed the boundaries of what alien science considered possible. His latest breakthrough involved manipulating gravity at the quantum level, opening possibilities for faster-than-light travel that made even the most advanced alien vessels look primitive by comparison. The technology was still experimental, but early tests suggested humanity would soon possess mobility advantages that would make them effectively unstoppable. The scientific revolution that had begun during the quarantine continued to accelerate as human researchers gained access to technologies from dozens of alien species who had joined the Federation voluntarily or through conquest. Each new discovery built upon previous breakthroughs, creating a cascade of innovation that left alien observers struggling to understand how one species could advance so rapidly across so many fields simultaneously. Captain Mike Barnes led diplomatic missions to species that had begun questioning their allegiance to the collapsed Council, offering them choice between Federation membership and continued independence under human protection. Most chose membership after seeing what had happened to Council loyalists who had opposed human expansion, but those who preferred independence found that human protection was both generous and effective against traditional galactic threats. The diplomatic success of these missions reflected humanity's evolution from a species that sought acceptance to one that offered leadership to others. Barnes had discovered that most alien species were actually relieved to have clear guidance from a power they could trust to keep its promises and protect its allies. The Council had ruled through fear and manipulation, but humanity offered partnership. Based on mutual benefit and shared security, intelligence reports from Dana White's expanding network revealed the true scope of galactic transformation that human emergence had triggered. On over 1,000 worlds, subject species had overthrown their council-appointed governors and declared independence from alien authorities that could no longer protect them. The rigid order that had dominated the galaxy for millennia was collapsing. Faster than anyone had imagined possible, the most significant diplomatic breakthrough came when the Depth Dwellers, one of the Council's founding species, formally requested Federation membership after their homeworld was threatened by Vorthan expansion. Their aquatic civilization brought advanced biotechnology and detailed knowledge of Council military capabilities. But more importantly, their defection proved that even the most established alien powers recognized humanity as the galaxy's new dominant force. Dr. Claire Evans had perfected quantum communication technology to the point where human forces could coordinate activities across the entire galaxy in real time, giving Federation commanders tactical and strategic advantages that alien military doctrine had no answer for. This communication network also served civilian purposes, allowing human colonies separated by thousands of light years to maintain closer contact than many alien worlds that were neighbors in the same system. Ambassador Jake Morrison addressed the assembled representatives from his position at the center of the Great Hall, the same spot where he had once stood as a defendant before alien judges. Today he spoke as the voice of galactic civilization's new order, outlining humanity's vision for peaceful coexistence based on strength rather than fear. The transformation from exile to leadership had taken exactly 4 years, proving that alien assumptions about the pace of change were dangerously outdated. 4 years ago, you sought to cage us because you feared what we might become, Morrison said to the assembled delegates. You gave us the greatest gift possible, time to realize our potential without interference. Today we offer what the old Council never could, true partnership between equals rather than submission to arbitrary authority. The speech was broadcast to every human settlement and allied world throughout Federation space, reaching an audience of over 20 billion humans and 30 billion alien citizens who had chosen to join humanity's expanding civilization. The message resonated across species barriers because it offered something the galaxy had never known: leadership based on competence rather than tradition. The final session of the First Galactic Assembly concluded with the formal adoption of the Federation Charter, a document that established humanity's role as the guarantor of galactic peace while protecting the rights of member species to govern themselves according to their own customs. Unlike the Council's rigid hierarchy, the Federation operated as a voluntary association where membership brought benefits rather than obligations to distant masters. President Hayes signed the charter using a pen made from metal taken from the wreckage of the first Council surveillance station destroyed during Operation Breakout, a symbolic reminder of how far humanity had traveled from their days as galactic outcasts. The ceremony was witnessed by representatives from species that spanned the galaxy, many of whom had never imagined they would see the day when the stars would be ruled by former prisoners. The transformation was complete, but the work of building a better galactic civilization was just beginning. Human exploration fleets were already pushing beyond the boundaries of known space, searching for new worlds and new species that might benefit from Federation protection. Each discovery brought fresh challenges and opportunities that would test humanity's ability to lead by example rather than force. Admiral Carter stood on the observation deck of the orbital station that had replaced the old Council headquarters, watching human ships depart for missions throughout the galaxy. Some carried diplomats seeking new alliances, others transported scientists and engineers working to share human innovations with allied species, and still others were loaded with the weapons and supplies needed to defend Federation territory. Against those who still opposed the new order, the view from the observation deck showed ships from dozens of species working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Human ingenuity combined with alien knowledge and resources was producing marvels that surpassed anything either could have achieved alone. The galaxy was becoming something unprecedented, a civilization based on cooperation between equals. rather than domination by the strong over the weak. As the assembly delegates returned to their homeworlds, carrying news of the Federation's vision for galactic civilization, humanity's former exiles seemed like ancient history. The species that had been banished for being too dangerous had proven that their greatest danger lay not in what they might destroy, but in what they could build when given the freedom to pursue their destiny among the stars. The Council's greatest fear had been justified, but their response had guaranteed the very outcome they sought to prevent.